Rapper Tory Lanez has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting rapper Megan Thee Stallion. The sentencing ends a 3-year court battle that sparked contentious debate online, propelled by what prosecutors described as a campaign of misinformation waged by Lanez against his victim. Joining us now is legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff, who became known as Megan the Reporter for her in-depth and fact-based coverage of the trial. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, you've covered this trial closer than just about anybody. Did you think justice was finally served?
You know, I think this was the sentence that a lot of people in the legal community with experience in these types of cases expected. After he was convicted, I consulted with an attorney experienced in these cases, and he said he was that Tory was facing at least double-digit time for this. He said probably close to the max. But the max was 22 years. Prosecutors only recommended 13. So the 10-year sentence was fortunate for him. It could have been worse.
Well, Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, tried to avoid jail time altogether by blaming a substance abuse problem and a difficult childhood. He also presented 76 letters from character witnesses. Why do you think the judge was ultimately not persuaded?
He did not find a nexus between a substance abuse problem and the crime that occurred. And one problem for Lanez was he still continues to deny that he did this. So the judge would repeatedly ask, well, if you're blaming alcohol for what happened, but you're saying that you didn't have anything to do with it, what did alcohol cause here? And his lawyer would say, well, it was the yelling in the car, the things that led up to that. But he still continues to deny this.
Well, the case also got really ugly outside the courtroom, with Meghan claiming that Lanez paid bloggers to disseminate false information about the case on social media. I know that you faced some online hate covering the trial. Tell us a little bit more about just how ugly things got online.
Yeah, and somebody pointed out that the online attention would have been there no matter what, but this also happened right in the middle of the pandemic when everyone was being told to stay inside. So there was such an intense online focus on it already. But it really introduced me to this online culture of the blogs that aren't reporting news from a traditional standpoint. They're aggregators, and then there's also a lot of pay for play going on, and then just the desire for clicks, and then the fan base news reporting that comes in. You've got people who are very, very invested in the case because they're very interested in the celebrity personally.
Well, after the sentencing, LA District Attorney George Gascon gave a press conference. Let's take a look.
There are many people in our community that endure acts of violence every day from people close to them and feel reluctant to come forward when this happens. I hope that Ms. Pete's bravery gives hope to those that feel helpless.
Yeah, Gascon said this is an issue that really impacts Black women. And Gascon himself, he's been hit pretty hard by his critics for being soft on crime, for ending sentencing enhancements in many cases. Why do you think that he decided to speak out about this case?
Well, it's interesting because Tory Lanez actually posted an Instagram voicemail from jail mentioning Gascon directly and doing a direct appeal to Gascon and saying that he was wrongly convicted. So this is a really strong statement by Gascon that he backs his prosecutors. He backs Meghan, and he didn't mention the voicemail specifically, but just the attacks that his prosecutors have faced in this were mentioned in court. And the prosecutor even said that Lanez was putting a target on the prosecutor's back by mentioning them on social media and dragging them into this whole thing. So it was a real statement of support by Gascon. And yeah, not exactly somebody who's known for being tough on crime.
Well, and Megan Thee Stallion said she got it so fiercely that she didn't want to go to the courtroom at the sentencing, and still she sent a letter. What stood out to you about her remarks about how this case impacted her?
She did say that she wanted the sentence to be a message to all women who are victims of violence. And she just talked about what he's done over the years and how she's never had a day of peace, and that he used social media as a real weapon against her. And I think that was so significant to the judge because there was a technical legal reason he didn't consider technically Lanez's lack of remorse, but he did consider the social media activity to be a huge aggravating factor. And he's made it clear, even during the trial, just the interest that he showed in his reaction when there was attorney talk about song lyrics that Lanez had written about Meghan. It was clear that he found that relevant, and he also wasn't impressed by that.
All right. Well, Meghann Cuniff, legal affairs journalist, you can find her on Twitter and follow her Substack. It is a must-read for court cases in Los Angeles. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.